To the postcast, David Locke along with Ron Boone as the Jazz fall 88-86. I'm going to stand on a chair. Then I don't look as short. Ron's much taller. Oh, you're going to sit down for me.
I'll sit down.
Ron's much taller than me. Welcome to the postcast. You can catch this on our YouTube channel as well as on the audio version there. We have the camera set. We look a little better now. Well, this is painful. 88-86 to a Hornets team that really is incredibly inexperienced and was playing without Anthony Davis in the second half. This is a game you should win.
Yeah, you definitely should win it. I mean, you put yourself in a position to win it. Only a couple of mishaps there that caused the Jazz the win. But was it one there in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the basketball game? Maybe not. But the fact of the matter, they put themselves in that position, and they just couldn't come up with it.
Big pictures, this game got slow. It got muddy. It got kind of flowless. And the Jazz looked terrible in that environment. What happened?
Well, again, this is, like I said during the broadcast, 8 preseason games, and then the first ball game of the year, the Jazz moving the basketball, getting up and down the floor. I mean, it was a transition game. This is the first ball game where the Jazz actually had to play a half-court game. They didn't look good at it, especially in that first half, and never made the adjustments. I think the Hornets like sloppy basketball games. They like boring basketball games for the most part. But the Jazz struggled with it last year. The Hornets beat the Jazz, 2-1 last year. And they just couldn't get it done here tonight. But, you learn something from this.
The Jazz, what do you learn from this?
Well, you learn from that. Coaches will learn something, and then I think the players will learn something there as well. That executing your offense and setting good screens, that type of thing will get you good shots. And, I don't know if you want to credit the Hornets' defense as being that good, but I really didn't think so. I just think the Jazz offense looked bad.
Jazz have a new toy. That is the three-point shot. They launched 28 of them tonight. Now, on one side, you say that's way too many. On the other side, Jefferson and Millsap were simply ineffective in the post, and so was Cantor the few times it went to him. So did they fall in love with their new toy, or was that the option that they had tonight because they weren't able to score in the post?
I thought they had to shoot the threes. I thought the Hornets did a great job. If you notice that whenever Al or Paul caught the basketball on the low block, they were being zoned. And Al got nothing going back to the middle of the floor. For a number of times he had to pass out of the double team down on the low block. But the Hornets recovered very well. I mean, I thought they recovered very, very well. The Jazz just, they made some good threes and did a pretty good job of moving the basketball around the perimeter. Monty, from what I understand, likes defense, but he also likes the slow play to give his defense a chance to win the ball games for him.
I'm not exaggerating. The Hornets must have run the high pick and roll 45 straight times.
Well, their bread and butter, David, is supposedly the motion offense. But tonight, what was effective for them was the pick and roll there in the middle of the floor.
I mean,
so they
really
ran it over
and
over and over again, and they ran it particularly the best when they would use Al Jefferson in the pick and roll.
I think this is really telling, Ron, because we watched that Spurs game. They didn't run it that much. They ran it some. They ran much more pick and roll on the wing, which they then kicked to the other pick and roll, and they had much different motion. But they've changed entirely what they're doing to exploit a weakness of this Utah Jazz basketball team. And frankly, until the Jazz figure that out, everyone in the league can run a high pick and roll.
Absolutely. I mean, expect to see quite a bit of it. The Jazz struggled with it last year. I mean, nothing's changed there. And you have your scouting report, and you take advantage of what's there. It's obvious that the pick and roll, and lots of times they'd run the pick and roll, and then if the Jazz defended it well, they'd run it over again. I mean, they just kept running until they got what they wanted out of it.
2 defensive plays late that turned the game, if you're going to focus in on late game, one of which Ryan Anderson starts as though he's going right to left down the baseline. Paul's cheating up high. Anderson reverses path back to the near side. Paul can't get back. Al doesn't get out, and he hits a wide-open 3. Great play or poor defense by the Jazz?
Poor defense there by the Jazz. The ball was on the right side of the floor. Maybe Al should have been trailing Anderson, but, you're so concerned about him running off screens on the baseline, so you try to get over the top and beating there. It was just a smart play there by Anderson. Now, whether that was called out of the timeout there by the coaching staff or was that the second option to the play, we don't know. But whatever the case, Ryan Anderson did a great job of getting the – and that was a tough 3 as well, kind of going away from the basket and knocked it down.
And then the second one, Tyrone Corbin made a really nice adjustment late in the game. He put Gordon Hayward on Ryan Anderson, assuming that they would come out and run that as a pick and roll with Ryan Anderson so that the Jazz wouldn't have to switch. But Hayward falls to the ground, and Vasquez is able to turn the corner and float the layup up over Al Jefferson.
Yeah, that was just one of those mishaps that, it happened. It's too bad it happened because that gave Vasquez a chance to get all the way to the basket. Well, he didn't really get all the way to the basket. He actually banked that from about 5 or 6 feet away from the basket. But falling down, that hurt and kept the Jazz from taking this ball game into overtime.
Randy Foye was pretty fabulous tonight.
Yeah, really fabulous. Made some big shots. He looks good. He's doing now what he does best. He likes to shoot the basketball. He can shoot the three. You can trust him that he's going to take good shots for the most part. He took one bad shot tonight, a hurried shot that he probably shouldn't have with 16 seconds left on the clock. Should have backed it out and gave himself a chance from that standpoint.
The one thing you would have liked to see, some people wonder about Randy at point guard, but you don't get this Randy Foye. When he plays the point guard, you don't get this shooting element of his game. He really gets muted by it, and he's not the same. You don't get the same player. That was obvious in the preseason.
Yeah, I think he's better as a two guard, and periodically you put him at the point, when you need help there, but you have to keep that basketball in his hands, and in his hands means that he's playing the two guard position and getting a chance to score.
Missed free throw late by Gordon Hayward, definitely a painful one. Jazz fall 88-86 to the New Orleans Hornets. Just a night where they never got rolling, then they got themselves in a position where they had no margin for error and they made errors, and they fall 88-86. We're in San Antonio tomorrow. Thanks for tuning into the postcast here on Locked On Jazz.